Let's start the podcast. Your average fight fan.
All right, welcome back. Episode 6. I am Juan, and this is your average fight fan. We're going to be going over a few things here, including the upcoming event, UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Till. Besides that, we're going to be doing a couple of things here. Let's start with, we had 3 fight cards in 1 week. That's pretty impressive. We had a Saturday card, a Wednesday card, and a Saturday card. Obviously, the Saturday card we went over in our previous episode. You can check out episode 5 if you want to hear about Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal card. That was a very, very, very cool fight. Or as a whole card in general, we had 3 title fights on that one. On Wednesday, we had Calvin Kattar against Dan Ige. That was a very good card as well. And then last night, Saturday, we had Ige and Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez for the flyweight title. And like I mentioned before, we have next Saturday coming up on July 25th is Robert Whittaker against Darren Till. So let's start with the Wednesday card, which was Calvin Kattar against Dan Ige. This card was pretty good. For the sake of time, since we have to cover 3 fight cards today, I'm going to just recap the last 3 cards on the main, the last 3 fights on the main card. Starting with Jimmy Rivera against Cody Stamann. Jimmy was the slight favorite here at minus 140, and he delivered, bringing his record to 23-4. It was a close fight, but I think Rivera did enough to get the unanimous decision win, which is not uncommon for him. I think he has like 17 wins by decision, so obviously not uncommon. Tough, durable guy. Either way, it was a much-needed win for him because, like I mentioned previously, he was coming off 2 straight losses and 1 win in his last 4 fights. I talked about that in my previous episode. So this was a huge win and a huge breath of fresh air for him. I want to give a big congrats to Jimmy Rivera. It's nice to see him, back in the win column after having such a really, really, really good start to his career, going on such a massive win streak, and then getting to the top of the division and blah blah blah. We know what happened there. So it's good to see him back in the win column. Like I said, this makes his 23rd win. So congrats to him. And Cody Stamann, he's still in the top 10. He's still a durable, very, very good fighter. I'm sure he'll be back, and I'm sure he'll be better than ever. So, all right, moving on to the next fight in the card was Tim Elliott against Ryan Benoit. This was another close fight where one guy did more than the other and earned the decision win again. So in this case, it was Tim Elliott with his usual crazy fighting style and landing awkward strikes. He got a takedown, and he secured the win in the eyes of the judges, and in my eyes too. I think he did enough. Benoit was no punching bag, obviously. He had his moments in the fight as well, but I think it was Elliott who was landing more, who was mixing it up better, and in my opinion, just like I said, he did more to get the win. So he was able to outstrike Benoit in total strikes as well as significant strikes over the course of the 3-round fight. So again, I just think he did more. I think he was more. He was just more fluid. He did more. He moved more. He threw more. Just overall, he did more than Benoit did. So this win brought his record to 16-11. Congrats to Tim for the win, and let's see what Uncle Dana wants for him next. He's, like I said, he's got 11 losses, but he's still a flyweight contender. I believe he's still in the top 10, so we will see what happens there. All right, moving on. Next, we had the main event on this card was, again, Calvin Kattar against Dan Ige. Calvin was the favorite coming in at minus 280, and for good reason. He showed that even if he starts slow, which is usually what happens, and it's happened in the past, he can get going in the later rounds and take over a fight. This was a really good one. It was a back-and-forth brawl. Ige came out quick and precise. He was landing at will and mixing it up with kicks and punches early. But I think even as the first round progressed, it looked like Kattar was taking over. It was a pretty back-and-forth fight until the 4th and 5th rounds, where I believe Kattar was the aggressor and was coming forward, landing the more significant strikes. Even late in the 5th round, where Ige's right eye was so swollen that it was almost completely closed. I just think, once again, going back to what I said with Tim Elliott and Benoit and Ryan Benoit, some guys just do more. Some guys, they stick to their gas tanks and landing, precise strikes, and that's what Kattar did in this one. He was, again, coming forward, landing more strikes, landing more significant strikes. Overall, I think Kattar was the better fighter. Even like I said, even though he did start off a little slow, he tends to do that. Usually, he tends to start a little bit slow, try to get a read on his opponents. But I got to say, this was his coming out fight. This was a main event for him. His second main event. He lost the first one, and big win for him. Big win on a big stage. So congrats to him. Overall, I think both fighters showed their heart. But in the end, it was Kattar that came out on top. So he came out with the W. He moves closer to that title shot. So again, big congrats to him. Hopefully we'll see him in the cage again soon, and maybe this time it'll be against a top 5 guy, which I think he is. I believe he's a top 5 guy, but we'll see what Uncle Dana thinks, and we'll see what the UFC's matchmakers do for him. So hopefully, like I said, we'll see him against a top 5 guy so he can break in there and start fighting for his shot for, put himself in line for a title shot. So congrats to our boy Kattar from Boston. I'm not sure if he's from Boston exactly, but he's definitely from Massachusetts. So congrats to him. All right, moving into last night's card. This was we had 2 good fights on paper that looked like bangers. It was, you look at the card and you say, all right, these guys are definitely going to put on a show. Yeah, it was the complete opposite. Yeah, they both ended in the first round, and they both ended by submission. I don't think anybody expected that, So let's start with number 7 ranked Kevin Gastelum versus number 6 ranked Jack Hermansson. This was a pick'em fight, as both guys were at minus 15 in the odds, so there was no favorite, there was no underdog. Vegas was not sure about this one. So let me start off by saying that there was 3 total strikes landed in the entire fight. 3. 1, 2, 3. Total strikes. Hermansson threw a kick to start it off, which landed to the body, followed by 2 more kicks. 1 landed, 1 was blocked. After that, Kevin threw some kind of winding punches, 1 landing to the body, and the others missing. But then was able to reverse a takedown that Jack initiated, giving Kelvin credit for the takedown. From here, it was over. It was over pretty quickly. Hermansson attempted 2 heel hooks and was able to complete the second one. I don't know, man. Kelvin just didn't realize that it was. I don't know. I guess he just didn't realize it was in. Usually at this level, heel hooks are not very common. Maybe more in like grappling tournaments, they're more common because that's like a big thing now in grappling tournaments where people are losing by heel hook, but not usually at this level of UFC. But I don't know. Kelvin just didn't recognize it, and he was forced to tap from the pain. I don't know if you ever felt what a heel hook feels like, or any type of submission like a knee bar or arm bar or anything like that. They're so painful. They are so painful. Heel hook is crazy, crazy painful. So yeah, like I said, I mean, Kelvin didn't recognize it, and he was forced to tap. He had no other choice. He was either that or just go home with with just injuries upon injuries. So yeah, that's a huge win for Jack Hermansson. This guy's been, he came out of nowhere, and you're beating a guy who just fought for the interim middleweight title. It's pretty big. It's a big fight, big win. Granted, it wasn't the main event, but no matter. I mean, this guy just took out even though, yeah, on paper, Kelvin Gastelum is number 7. That, this guy's been at the top of the division at 170 and 185 for a pretty long time. I think he started when he was like 21. So he's been fighting for a few years now, and he's just, I want to say he started in the Ultimate Fighter, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won the Ultimate Fighter when he was 21 years old. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. And then, through the years, he's just been coming up the ranks, and like I said, he fought for a title. Well, even though it was the interim title, he was at the top of the divisions at 170, moved up to 185, fought for the interim title. Yeah, this guy's, he's a very, very durable top-tier guy. So it's a big win for Jack. So congrats to Jack Hermansson. I think he's close. This puts him pretty close to a title shot. I think Jack is probably 1 or maybe 2 fights away from that goal from fighting for a title. Regardless of how many fights are in his way until he gets that title shot, this is a very big step in that direction. And, that obviously his goal is to fight for a title, just like anybody else in the top 10 or anybody else that's fighting, I would assume, in general. But this is a huge step in the right direction. So congrats again to Jack Hermansson for the big win. Quick. It was, I think it lasted less than 2 minutes maybe. It was it was big win for him. So congratulations to Jack Hermansson for the heel hook submission win to solidify his number 6 ranking and possibly move him into the top 5. Who knows? You never know with the rankings. These media guys are kind of cray with the with the ranking system. So who knows? He might be in the top 5 come Tuesday. We'll see. All right, moving into the main event. It was the rematch of Brazilian fighter Davison Figueiredo against the American Joseph Benavidez for the still vacant flyweight title. I say still vacant because the last time they fought, Figueiredo actually missed weight, which meant if he won, he would not be allowed to take the belt. And yep, he won by knockout. It was a controversial win because there was a headbutt prior to that, and Benavidez cut. There was a cut on Benavidez's forehead that opened up nasty, and there was just so much blood. There was a ton of blood coming down Joseph Benavidez's forehead down onto his face, and it was kind of limiting his eyesight. And normally when there's a headbutt like that and there's so much blood and it's significant, the ref can usually step in, pause the fight, have doctors come in, clean it up, check if it's major or not, see if it's fight altering, and go from there. But in this case, Figueiredo didn't give the ref time to even check for blood. He hit Benavidez with a nasty right hand that knocked him down and pretty much ended the fight from there. So, like I said, that type of thing is usually when there's so much blood and it's kind of limiting, the sight and it's hard for the fighter to see. Usually the ref will step in. This was not the case. So, it sucks. He hit Benavidez, like I said, with a nasty right hand, knocked him down, landed some elbows, and then, it was nasty from that. But, yeah, the ref stopped it. And like I said before, since he missed weight, there was no champion, just a win on Figueiredo's record. So this time, they both made championship weight, and there was a victor that took home the belt. Joseph Benavidez came in ranked at number 2 flyweight, and Figueiredo was ranked number 1. I don't think that changed. It started pretty even with both guys landing some leg kicks. Figueiredo landed a spinning back kick that was fast. It was so fast that you could barely see it on the screen when you were watching it on TV. I don't think it was even a minute into the round. The Brazilian fighter Figueiredo lands a right hook that puts the American down. And from there, it was kind of the beginning of the end, unfortunately, for Joseph Benavidez. Figueiredo landed some ground and pound. He got some elbows and strikes in there. He was able to transition into a back control and kind of just submission attempt after submission attempt after submission attempt. He attempted some neck crank, rear naked choke, neck crank again. To Joseph's credit, he defended very well, even getting back to his feet. I mean, it's not easy to have a black belt in jiu-jitsu on your back attempting submissions, getting you in a neck crank, getting you in a rear naked choke, again in a neck crank, and you're getting out of all these. That's very high-level jiu-jitsu. And Joseph was able to get out of all 3 of those. And like I said, he was able to use the cage to kind of, they call it wall crawl, to get back up to his feet. But it wasn't enough, man. Davison was just too powerful, too fast. And of course, Joe was already rocked. He got knocked down. He was already rocked. So Davison was able to not only knock Joe down 2 more times after he got back up to his feet, but he finished it via rear naked choke in the end. He actually put Joe to sleep because Joe didn't tap. So we now have a new flyweight champion at 125 pounds. He's from Brazil, and his name is Davison Figueiredo. So congrats to him for the win, and of course for achieving his goal, which is getting the belt. I'm interested to see where Benavidez goes from here. 2 cracks at the title, both losses to the same guy. He's been in the game for I don't know, 15 years or so, something like that. He's not getting any younger. I feel bad for not just Joe, but any fighter, that gets so close and is just can't grasp the title, It's frustrating, man. It sucks. I guess, yeah, just 15 years, really good career. He's always been at the top. He fought for the title against Demetrius Johnson too. He lost that. A lot of cracks at the title, and just sucks, man. It's kind of like Uriah Faber, same thing. Uriah Faber's had, 7 title fights, something like that. Could never win the title, And this, you're talking about Uriah Faber's one of the pioneers of the sport. And he's another one. He's going to go down, no title. But, it's like everything else. Charles Barkley was one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Doesn't have a title. It's things like that. It's Karl Malone, same thing. If you like basketball, Karl Malone was an absolute monster. I don't know why I'm getting into basketball. I guess I'm just using it for examples. But there's just certain guys that are, excellent at their craft and can never really put the cherry on top, which is, going for the title. So, whatever happens going forward, like I said before, he's had an exceptional career. I believe personally that he will most definitely be a UFC Hall of Famer. So, there's nothing to be upset about, nothing to be ashamed about, But at the end of the day, these guys are fighting for one, common goal, and that's to win a title. So, it sucks for Joe, but again, I got to congratulate Figueiredo for winning the title, this time doing it, fair and square. He made the weight, knocked him down, submitted him, and this was in the first round. So, huge win for him against like I said before, extremely durable guy, excellent fighter. So that's a big a big feather in the cap for Figueiredo. 2 wins over, arguably one of the best flyweights of all time. So, congratulations to him. And like I said, we'll see what happens to the future of Joseph Benavidez. Hopefully, something good. I hope so. I don't think moving up to 35 is the answer. He's too small. And we don't have a 115-pound division in the UFC. So, he's kind of stuck at that 125 flyweight division. But, maybe he's going to end up being the gatekeeper, which he was for a little while when Demetrius Johnson was, just kind of running through everybody in that division. He was just getting win after win after win. So, it's tough. It is a tough turning point in your career, but you just gotta just kind of walk through it and see what's next. So, we'll see what happens. All right, moving on. Now we get to the upcoming UFC fight night, Whittaker versus Till. As crazy as it sounds, this is actually the 3rd Fight Island card. Wow. I can think back to early April when Dana was saying, Fight Island is real. All the preparations are being handled right now and blah, 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 and the Fight Island is real. And now here we are. People were doubting him that this was even a real thing, and he kept reiterating that it's happening, and then it's happening, and it's here, and it's real, and blah, blah, blah. Well, now here we are, the 3rd week of July, and we're talking about the 3rd Fight Island event. That's amazing. These guys, they're the best organization for a reason. Nobody was able to pull off what the UFC pulled off. There had to be a first. Well, the first in this case just happens to be the biggest and the baddest. So, UFC is the UFC. They do what they do. They are the best for a reason. They might not be the biggest organization, technically speaking, because ONE FC does have more fighters, and they are the biggest Asian organization. So technically, if you want to speak numbers, then ONE FC is actually the biggest. But globally, UFC is the most popular, makes the most money, and they're the best. All right, enough talk about Fight Island. Let's get to the actual fights. So UFC.com actually has this card listed with a 7-fight main card. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. I think that might be a mistake, but I don't know. Maybe they're changing maybe they're changing up the formula a little bit. I don't remember ever seeing a fight card with 7 fights in the main card. It's usually 5, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe they did do 7. Maybe they're just skipping the early prelims altogether. Who knows? We'll see. But they have it listed as 7 fights on the main card. So this card's a strange one for a few reasons, really. One, you have 3 Brazilian fighters that are way past their prime, in my opinion. I don't think they should be fighting at all. And they're all fighting on the same card. These guys are, like I said, way past their prime. I mean, these guys, they've been fighting forever. You have Mauricio Shogun Rua, Antonio Minotauro Nogueira, also known as Little Nog, and Fabricio Werdum. Shogun Rua is 38 years old. Little Nog is 44. And Fabricio Werdum is 42. These guys have all been through some crazy battles. I mean, fights that, as time goes on, they just take a toll on your body. These guys have been in so many of these fights. And I honestly don't think that any of them should be fighting anymore. I just don't, it's just, why are you still fighting? What do you have to gain? Is it for money? I mean, that's really the only reason I could see why these guys are still fighting. They need money. But why else? Like, I don't know. It's just like they don't think about their future. It sucks when you see, people get to a certain age, 35. Once they get to that 35, 36, 37, 38, 40, 42, 44, it's like, what are you doing, man? Why are you still fighting? Do you really need the money that bad? There's nothing else in your life that you... Come on, man. You guys are legends, absolute legends, and you're still there, just battling it out. I don't know. I don't think they should be fighting anymore. But then again, I'm not an expert. I'm just your average fight fan, and I'm clearly not the one that dictates who or when someone can or should be fighting. So, as they say, the show must go on, and it will. So then, let's start with the penultimate fight on the card. We're going to see the former heavyweight champion, Fabricio Werdum, who, as I mentioned, is 42 years old. He's ranked at number 14. He's fighting the mauler, Alexander Gustafsson, who is moving up from light heavyweight to heavyweight for this fight. I'm not sure how he's ranked at number 7 in the division since he's never fought in the division. But, as Max Holloway always says, it is what it is. The stats show that the mauler will have a 1-inch height advantage at 6'5", and a 2-inch reach advantage at 79 inches. The ex-champ, Werdum, brings a record of 23-9 with 1 draw to the bout, while Alex brings his record of 18-6. Both guys are coming off back-to-back losses and trying to get back in the win column. Alex is actually only 33 years old, and he should be the fresher fighter if you think about it logically, but like I mentioned before, with all 3 Brazilian fighters, the Brazilian fighters' ages, in MMA, I guess age doesn't really mean much. But with that said, Vegas had the mauler favored at -300, with Werdum the underdog at +240. We'll see how this plays out. Let's see how these guys can handle each other. Like I said before, Alex is moving up a weight class. He did retire after his last loss. And Werdum is actually returning from a 2-year suspension. He was suspended for tainted supplements. This is not the fight of his return. He actually fought about a month ago or so, or maybe 2 months ago, on his return fight, which he lost. And now he's fighting again. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. These guys are both big guys. Alexander Gustafsson, like I said, is 6'5". He's usually the taller fighter in there. And like I said before, he's always fought at light heavyweight. Fought for the title a couple of times. So, we'll see. It is an interesting matchup. But I think it's going to be good. It's going to be, if I had to guess, it's going to be a stand-up fight unless Werdum likes to take it to the ground and, because his jiu-jitsu is probably the best in the heavyweight division of anyone ever. So if I had to guess who was going to be taking somebody down, it's going to be Werdum taking Alexander the Mauler down. So we will see. But then again, he likes to strike too, and Mauler's a striker. So we'll see what happens. All right. Next, we'll have the third fight between these two super vets. The guys have fought each other twice before. Mauricio Shogun Rua takes on Little Nog Antonio Minotauro Nogueira. Both of these guys have been fighting for, 100 years or so. They fought each other in 2005 in Pride. Then they transitioned over when Pride was purchased by the UFC in 2007. They fought again in 2015. Yeah, these guys are, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they're dinosaurs in this sport. They're dinosaurs. So, Shogun Rua brings a record of 26-11 with 1 draw. Little Nog brings a record of 23-9. There is absolutely zero implications for this fight. The only one that's ranked out of these two is Shogun, and he's ranked at number 15. So again, there's no implications. No matter what happens, who wins, it doesn't matter. The odds have Shogun Rua as the favorite here at minus 200. No surprise there, as like I said, they fought twice, and he won both of those. So he is 2-0 against his opponent, making Little Nog the underdog here, and Vegas has him at plus 170. So both these guys are primarily stand-up fighters. They can mix it up with grappling if necessary. If I had to give the grappling advantage to one of these guys, I would probably give it to Little Nog. But the striking, it's a toss-up. We'll see. If I'm being honest, I'm not really interested in this fight at all. The only reason I want to watch it is because I want to see what these guys look like at this age. Like I said before, what are they fighting for? Are they fighting for money? Are they fighting for legacy? What are they fighting for? So, there's a ton of other fights that interest me more than this one does. No offense to these two legends of the sport. Like I said before, they are legends and they deserve whatever comes their way. It's just like I mentioned, there comes a time in a fighter's life when you just kind of need to hang the gloves up. Call it quits, man. There's no shame in retiring. That's just the way it is. That's how this game has always been. Boxing, martial arts, mixed martial arts, sports in general, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, hockey. Everybody gets to a point where you have to say, okay, this is it. I'm not competitive anymore. I'm getting, out hustled. I'm getting out rebounded or whatever sport you're playing. You're just not competitive anymore. You're just at an age where your body doesn't react the same, And I think that's the case with these 3 Brazilian fighters. Then again, Randy Couture did win the title at 44 coming out of retirement. That was 2007. He came out of retirement. He was 44 years old. Fought Tim Sylvia, won the title. But, what do I know? Of course, those were different times. USADA wasn't around. Who knows if Randy was juiced to the gills or not? I don't know. It's possible. But anyway, the point is, in today's MMA, with all these young beasts coming up, training in every martial arts from the moment they're children, along with the quote-unquote stringent drug testing policy that the UFC has. I say quote-unquote stringent because there's been some questionable results in the past. And, in the past, some guys have gotten off a lot easier than others. But, again, that's a conversation for a completely different time, completely different podcast. Maybe one day we'll get into it. Who knows? I'm just saying. I hope that Werdum, Shogun, and Little Nog, they just have safe and healthy lives after they retire. I don't want anyone to end up like, for example, Muhammad Ali. He has, or had, I should say, I'm sorry. Rest in peace, Muhammad Ali. He had difficulties communicating with his children. It's just, I don't want to see that for anybody. No athlete, no person in general. So, all right, enough with the boring, sad stuff. Anyway, moving on to the main event. We have the number 1 ranked Australian, the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, with a record of 21-5, taking on the Gorilla, Darren Till. He's from Liverpool, England, and he's ranked at number 5 with a record of 18-2 with 1 draw. This is a good matchup. This one I actually am excited about. Both guys like to brawl, with Whittaker mixing in takedowns from time to time. Till's primarily a Muay Thai fighter, but also is well-versed in BJJ. He lived in Brazil for a little while. He had some crazy incident happen in Liverpool where he was stabbed at a bar, and he was sent to Brazil by his coach and lived in Brazil for, I want to say 5 years. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was 5 years. He actually met his girlfriend there, had a baby, and his daughter was born in Brazil, and I think she still lives in Brazil if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah, so he's not a slouch on the ground. He's actually, I want to say he's currently he's a purple belt. Yeah, he's a purple belt, which means his next belt will be brown, and then after that you get black. But obviously it takes a very long time to get there. So purple belt is a very good ranking. Clearly not as good as brown or black, but purple belt is You've been in there for quite a while. You've earned your stripes, and now you're about halfway through. So he's good on the ground. Not great, but he's good. Whittaker, on the other hand, is a brown belt, and he's a good wrestler. Very good wrestler, in my opinion. So the grappling advantage, again, in my opinion, goes to the Reaper. But both guys are very, very difficult to take down, so I don't think there'll be many takedown attempts in this fight. If we do see some, it's probably going to be Whittaker trying to take Till down. But for the most part, I anticipate this being a stand-up fight. Both guys are matched pretty well and pretty evenly in the tail of the tape, with Till having a slight reach advantage of 1 inch, but they're both the same height. They're both 6 feet tall. Interestingly enough, both guys used to fight at 170 and have now moved up to 185. So they both thought that 170 was not their place and moved up to not cut as much weight. 15 pounds is a lot of weight to cut. It really is. And if you're already cutting weight to get to 185, then it's the logical choice for some people, not for everyone. But for these two guys, it was a logical choice. Whittaker's coming off a loss to the current champ, Adesanya, which saw him lose the title. Adesanya won the title by beating Whittaker by knockout. Before that, though, Whittaker was on a 9-fight win streak at the moment. And I would imagine that he wants to run that back, obviously. And in order to do so, he needs to prove that he's still capable of beating top-tier guys. And you know what? I think if he gets a win over Till, that gets him right back into title contention. In my opinion, he's number 1 ranked. He didn't get a rematch at the title, so beating Till is going to get him right back into that title contention. So Darren Till was an undefeated fighter, looking like a world beater, who made it to the top of the division at 170 pounds and actually ended up fighting for the title. Unfortunately for him, it didn't go his way, as he was submitted by Tyron Woodley after getting knocked down by a nasty right cross, suffering his first career loss. Took a little bit of time off, not too much, and then he later fought Jorge Masvidal and was knocked out for the first time in his career. These two devastating losses gave Till the experience needed to learn that no one, and I mean no one, is invincible, okay? Also, he learned that, like I said before, draining your body down to 170 pounds maybe wasn't the best path for him. He had to lose to understand that what he was doing was only going to get him so far. Just striking, not really using your ground game, cutting down to 170. He walks around at like 220 pounds sometimes. So cutting down to 170 is a big feat for anyone that's, could be a natural middleweight fighter. So now he knows, he knows that moving up to 185 was the better choice, He decided to move up to 185. Now he's coming off a good win against Kelvin Gastelum, who, as we learned, lost last night. But that win gave Darren Till his confidence back. He now knows that even though he did lose back-to-back fights, he's still a top contender in the UFC at middleweight. Of course, if he'd be able to beat the number 1 ranked fighter in Robert Whittaker, that would mean that he leapfrogs Whittaker for the spot to fight for the title next. So that's why this fight is so intriguing. This is a very, very intriguing matchup. Giant implications for the middleweight division. So let's see what kind of game plan these guys bring. What are these guys going to bring to the table? Till, generally, he tends to use a lot of feints, and he's usually heavy hand strikes. That's his fighting style. He likes to use boxing. He does throw kicks, but that's not, they're not like devastating blows in his arsenal. He favors boxing and elbows more than anything else. So, again, I'm just guessing here. If I had to guess what his fighting style is going to be against Robert Whittaker, it's going to be, I don't know. He seems like the bigger guy, but he's not, because they're both the same height. So I don't know. We'll see how big he looks at 85 against Whittaker. But if I had to guess, he's going to do that. He's going to just use his boxing, use, elbows against the cage, elbows in the clinch, and maybe throw some body kicks every once in a while. He throws a head kick. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Whittaker, on the other hand, he's a more well-rounded fighter. He likes to mix in everything from boxing to Muay Thai, kicks and elbows. He does, like I said, he's a good wrestler. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He does submit people. I think he has 5 wins by submission. So he's the more well-rounded fighter in this fight. And I think that's probably why he's slightly favored here at minus 160, with Till coming in at plus 140. The two styles make for a really good fight on paper. And obviously that's why they're not so far in the odds, minus 160 to plus 140. So let's see what happens. I like this fight. I think it's going to be a banger. I really do. From what I've seen from Darren Till, he's never been in a boring fight. And from what I've seen in the last, 2 years or so from Whittaker, hasn't been in a boring fight. He was on a 9-fight win streak before he lost to the champ and lost the title. So he's a good fighter. They're both really, really good fighters. Obviously, that's why they're at the top of the division. So I like this fight. I'm excited for it, and I'm obviously going to be watching, as I always do. But yeah, so this is again going to be on Fight Island. So let's see what we get on Yaz Island in Abu Dhabi next Saturday, July 25th on ESPN. The prelims start at 5 on the East Coast, and the main card starts at 8. Again, that's East Coast time. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys tonight. It's always a pleasure. So thanks again for listening and sticking with me. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I just want to let you know that you can now find me on YouTube. I now have a YouTube channel, so if you want to search for that, just search for Your Average Fight Fan, and you'll see that all my episodes will be there. If this is your first episode, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading weekly podcasts to keep you up to date with all the fights. If you like the content and you want to hear more on whichever platform you're listening to, just click that subscribe button. Subscribe to all the platforms. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, everything. Just subscribe to everything. But yeah, so please like and comment. And you know what? Share this with your friends. If you like what you're listening to and you want your friends to listen to it and you think it's good content, share it with your friends. It really helps a lot. The more people that listen, the more it helps the channel grow, and it helps me put together more higher quality content for you guys. At the end of the day, this is for you. So also, you know what? I want your suggestions. I want you guys to let me know what you think, what you want to hear, what you want me to talk about. What are your suggestions for the show? Should I bring on guests? Tell me anything you think that will help. And just, put it in the comments below. Let me know. You can also find me on Twitter and Facebook. As I mentioned before, the audio for this is going to be on Apple and Spotify. All the links will be in the description below the like button, so check that out. And again, thanks again for the support. And as always, I am Juan, and this is Your Average Fight Fan. Good night.
Your Average Fight